Our last essential ESL strategy is pacing. And this is probably the one that most people struggle with the most when they are first coming to online ESL classes. Pacing means that you are pacing yourself correctly throughout the lesson so that you don't get to the end and have a big chunk of 5 or 6 minutes where you're trying to fill it up, but you already finished the lesson. Or pacing it so that you get through the whole lesson and you don't get to that 25-minute mark and have 4 or 5 slides that you never got to do with the student. Classes at Gogokid are 25 minutes long. So that means you need to fit that lesson correctly into that 25 minutes without leaving a lot of extra space at the end or any extra slides that you didn't finish at the end. So this is really important because if you don't finish the slides, the student misses out on part of that lesson. And if you go through the slides too quickly, you end up just kind of doing a lot of filler stuff that the parents are paying for, and they often don't appreciate that. So what you want to do is really pay attention to your timing. You want to pay attention to your clock or your timer in the classroom to make sure that you are on track. I usually try and stick to about 1 minute per slide. But depending on how many slides are in the lesson, you might have to do a little more than a minute or a little less than a minute. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you know how many slides are in the lesson. If there's 18 slides in the lesson, I'm going to need to do a little bit more than a minute per slide to get to that 25-minute mark. If there are 30 slides in a lesson, I'm going to need to do a little less than a minute to get to that 25-minute mark. So after every slide or every 2 slides, I check that timer. Am I on pace to finish this on time? If I am running too quickly, I am going to extend. I'm going to go a little bit long on those slides. We might count something that I see in the background. Maybe there's flowers in the background of the slide or dinosaurs, and we're going to stop and we'll count them. Maybe we'll go over colors. Maybe if we're talking about cookies and donuts and cakes, maybe we will draw a cookie on the screen or draw a cake on the screen to reinforce the new vocabulary words. So when you're planning your lesson, be thinking about how could I extend this lesson? If the student picks up on this material really quickly, what could I do to extend it? I like to extend throughout the lesson rather than having a big 5-minute chunk of time at the end where I'm trying to just extend and fill things in. If I extend for 30 seconds here and 30 seconds there, it's not as noticeable to a parent as if I've got a 5-minute chunk of time at the end that I'm trying to fill. So this is a great time to play games, to use some of the extra tools that we have in the interactive classroom. We have a spinner, we have a whiteboard, we have a timer, so you could really be creative here to come up with ways to extend. If the student is going very slowly, you want to first look, am I doing too much talking? Am I the problem? Is it me that's making this go slow? Or is it the student and you need to adjust? If the student's having a really difficult time, you might need to simplify the slides. Maybe it's too much for them. Maybe you're going to focus on 1 or 2 sentences rather than a whole paragraph of reading. Maybe you'll take turns doing the reading. So maybe I'll read a portion, they'll read a portion. No potions. They'll read a portion if it's getting if they're a really slow reader. So think also about how could I simplify this if the student's having a hard time. A lot of times, if it's going really slowly and the student's having a hard time, take a look at yourself and self-evaluate. Am I using those other 7 strategies we talked about? Am I doing the modeling? I do, we do, you do. That's often a big one. If they're not catching on to the directions, make sure you're using that modeling strategy so that they know what you're doing. Make sure that you're using your props and your TPR. Make sure you're speaking slowly. You want to use all of those strategies. If you use all of the other 7 strategies, your pacing is usually really on point. What I notice most of the time is people who struggle with their pacing are not doing a very good job using the other 7 strategies. So keep that in mind. If you're struggling with pacing, go back and review our other strategies. Which ones can you work on some more to help the student in the classroom? Yes, very good job. Okay. Jun Jun. Oh, good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, Hannah.
Good morning, dog.
Good morning, Dad. Good morning.
Good morning, Mom.
Good morning, Mom.